coming in. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Nice having you.
I see you have a Manny sticker on. Very good, very
You
good.
threw it in the air and I caught it.
Very nice. You went to elementary school with the mayor.
I did do that.
How was that?
Well, we were a few years apart. We still are a few years apart.
Wow, that's
Weird
kind
how that works, right? I'm 3 years older than the mayor, so we overlapped for a few years in grade school, and we became much closer as adults. But he hasn't changed much in the last 40 years, as far as I can tell.
Do you mind holding the mic closer to your mouth?
How's this?
Very good.
Okay.
How has he changed in 4 years?
He's taller. He's a father. He hasn't changed that much as far as I can tell. But I also would say the mayor that you see walking the streets, the mayor who comes here and talks to you, the mayor who is on Instagram, the mayor who's in his office tackling a difficult issue, it's the same guy. One of the things I love about him as a friend, that I love about him as a boss, and that I love about him as a leader is he's an incredible listener, and he's so even-keeled. There's one version of him. I have bad days. I have good days. I have bad, meetings and good meetings. He's incredibly consistent. It's a remarkable trait for somebody in a job like the one that he's in.
What about you?
Would you be more specific, please?
How would you describe your temperament? Are you also, because you're right, he seems very chill all the time. Are you like that?
I'm less chill all the time. I think you knew the answer. That's why you asked the question. I've got a lot of energy for San Francisco. I've got a lot of energy for my wife and kids. I've got a lot of energy for my friends, and I probably have more peaks and valleys than he might. But I try to keep it even keeled in most environments.
You let me know last night that Mayor Lurie served in your administration at one point. Tell me about that.
You're going back to our student government days.
What was it like when he served under the Segal administration?
When he was in 5th grade and I was in 8th grade, he was incredibly diligent, and you could just tell he was going to be mayor of San Francisco.
You said, what was his position in student government?
So I haven't substantiated this. I can't remember exactly what his title was, so I don't want to say something that I'm not sure about. I only want to say things I'm sure about tonight. But he did serve in the Segal administration. He was president of student body. I believe he was president of student body at his high school and at his college as well. He cares a lot, and he wants to put himself in positions where he can do something about it.
Okay, so we're going to get to the meat and the potatoes of it all, but...
Do you want to tell everybody where we met? They didn't pay $15 to just hear, about
Well, why don't you tell them? Please, Mr. Segal.
Well, a woman who we both know invited a few people over to her home for one of the Jewish holidays. She invited over a high school classmate of mine, and Manny, and me, and our 3 children, and my wife. She invited my father as well, because it was my mother. And my classmate from high school was President Mandelman. And so it was a few years ago, and my mom is still a big admirer of Manny's, and it was neat to meet you in a different setting than the one that we all think about. It's been neat to get to know you, though, and see how much you care about the city and how you work so hard to bring people together.
Yeah, I really... that's nice. Buttering me up, I see. Very good.
How's it working?
It's working great. I feel all warm and tingly inside. We did meet at Passover Seder. I did know your mother before I knew you, and your mother, is Lynn here? Lynn? No. She's an amazing, incredible woman, very, very tough, and has been involved in the city for a very long time, many decades. I want to ask you, because you are both very close to the mayor as a friend and very senior in his administration, I want to ask you a little bit about...
old? Is that old?
You look great.
Who's buttering whom up?
Talk to me about inauguration. Don't worry, everyone, we're going to get to housing and economic development, but let me just tell, what was that like for you, seeing one of your best friends become the mayor and sitting next to him and seeing all that happen? What was that experience like for you?
It was one of the happiest days of my adult life that didn't have anything to do with a kid being born or one of those enormous family milestones, not just because I was happy for him on a personal level, but I felt so much hope for our city. And I felt so much excitement about the role that I was able to take on and being a small part of it. And to look around on that January day and have the sun be shining and have all of these people in front of City Hall when it was clean, you could just feel this excitement. And I have to say, I still feel that excitement when I'm with him, when I'm with many of you, when we're working through difficult matters together. But I never have felt more proud to be a San Franciscan than in a moment like that, when people work hard to elect somebody, when they work hard to elect somebody who hasn't been in office before, who has demonstrated how much they care about the city and has brought so many people together. I was just so excited.
So you've never worked in government before either?
I thought you were building me up. Now
well, no.
I have not. So I spent my whole career in the private sector, other than student government. I also was always involved in student government, like the mayor, because I cared so much about the environment around me. I wanted to be in positions where I could do something about it. But as an adult, my private sector responsibilities, I served on nonprofits. I helped found the San Francisco Neighborhood Theater Foundation because we lived in the marina, and I watched how these single standing theaters, which I thought were such important parts of the neighborhoods, now they still are, but so much has changed in how we consume media in the last, this was 20 years ago. I watched how the theaters were at risk, and a group of us came together to save a number of them. We raised money to save the Vogue Theater on Sacramento. We worked with the city and with our supervisors at the time to save a couple of the theaters, the Marina and the Presidio on Chestnut, and it was a neat way to be involved. I later was on the Tipping Point board, where I chaired the development committee and helped raise $50 million a year, and those felt like ways that I was able to give back and hopefully inspire others to give as well, and find the next generation of people who hopefully would take on the work. But I hadn't worked in government before this.
Why do you think it's a good thing, I assume you do think it's a good thing, that someone like you, with the experience that you have, and the not experience of working in government, why do you think it's a good thing that you are in the role you have now? And, if you don't mind, before you answer that question, help explain to the audience what exactly is under your purview. Like, what are the pieces of the administration that you're helping to policy advise?
So as the mayor started to think about, before he had even won, as he started to think about how to shape his administration, he was clear that the way it was set up until that time was not working. And he was really clear that he wanted to have fewer than 58, he wanted to make government smaller for the people who are in it. So instead of having 58 departments and agencies who would get together as one and try to hold each other accountable, stay coordinated, have common goals, work through challenges together. It's really hard to do in a room with 58 people. It may as well be a room as big as this. He created 4 rules, which are called, we're not allowed to have deputy mayors in San Francisco. There was legislation that passed in 1991 with the Board of Supervisors to prevent that. So he created what are called policy chiefs, and we each work with a different group of departments and agencies to help them do all those things I just said. Help hold them accountable, help them be better coordinated, help them move faster, clear things out of their way. It does not mean be expert in the things that they do. It means know just enough about it, and maybe a few things that they don't know to help clear out roadblocks for them. Because having worked in the private sector for a long time, I got pretty good at helping people do things faster and better, even if I wasn't expert at the thing that they're doing. And so the one for which I'm responsible is called Housing and Economic Development. Some of the things that are in that might be just totally obvious, and some of them less so. We have the Office of Economic and Workforce Development. We have permitting and planning, the Office of Small Business. We have a bunch of if you think about buying and building or paying for housing at all income levels, all the departments that do that are within that group. And so too is the airport and the arts and cultural institutions that sit on city land. And you might be like, why are the arts and cultural institutions in there? Well, if your job is to build more housing and revitalize downtown, we all want a city with a soul. We all want neighborhoods that people want to live in so that they can go work downtown from those neighborhoods. We all want a downtown that is thriving more so than the one that we have today. And people better be able to get in and out of an airport. They better have arts and cultural institutions that are thriving in order to attract the people, the businesses, and the visitors to our city that we need to be successful. So that's the portfolio. It is it's a lot. So much so that at the first meeting that I held of all the departments, people were introducing themselves to each other. And that to me was an insight that we had this massive opportunity to make the city government feel smaller for all of them. And so we get together as a group. We get together in what we call pods. There's one for housing, there's one for economic development, there's one for arts and culture. There's overlap between who sits on them, and we talk about common opportunities and common problems, and we break down barriers, and we learn from each other. Now we're 9 weeks in, so we've got a lot to do, and I've said to everybody, the goal is not to just create more meetings for each of you. The goal is to create net new opportunities for us to do all these things that I just said before. And so we're going to try it, and if it doesn't work, we're going to try other things. We have one-on-ones. It's hard if you're the mayor to have one-on-ones with 58 departments and agencies. It's hard to get to know somebody well enough that when you have a challenge, you can work through it well together. It's hard to know their kids' names, to know if they're having a good day or a bad day, but when you make the government smaller, you're better able to do that. So that's the job.
Thank you.
What was the other question? Somebody that wise people.
Presumably all those people have worked in government for a long time, and here you come in.
One of the most exciting things about my first week was seeing that we have tremendous people in the city government. They are subject matter experts. They came to City Hall because they care deeply about what they do. Many of them studied it for years and years before they got there. They've been there for decades. They are so good. They care so much, but they've been blocked. They haven't been empowered. They haven't been coordinated. They don't have common goals. And so when they start to recognize what's possible, because the mayor says to them, don't negotiate with yourself before you come to me. Tell me what you really think we should do, not what you think I'm going to say yes to. Tell me where you're blocked. Why can't we do it in 2 weeks? Or what else? And then people start to think about what's possible, and you see a little pep in their step. And I've really noticed as I walk around City Hall or other buildings or go to meetings with people from the team over the last 9 weeks that you're noticing that pep in the step because people are realizing that they're going to be able to accomplish more of what they came to City Hall to do. So to answer the first part of your question, the hope would be that by bringing together some incredible, super experienced leaders who've been in City Hall for, Luis, am I not talking into the mic?
No.
Okay, sorry. Who are not the people, the subject matter experts who've been around for a long time, by combining a lot of them with a few of those of us who are naive enough to think that we might be able to help people move even faster and do even more, that we can accomplish a lot more than they might have been able to if some of us who are newer to this were able to. And I also hope that I can inspire others to do what I'm doing. I spent 25 years in the private sector, but I care deeply about this city. We have 3 kids that we've chosen to raise here. I'm so fortunate that my parents moved here when I was a little kid and that I was raised here. And I want to make this city better for future generations. And I want to demonstrate to other people that although a Form 700 is a real pain in the neck to fill out, that it's worth it, because the reward is getting to work with all these incredible people and being able to hopefully walk around San Francisco for decades to come and see the impact that we've had.
You want to tell people what a Form 700 is for those who don't know?
That's the disclosure form that one has the opportunity to fill out when they accept a job in state or city government. And the idea is to make it clear what all the potential entanglements or conflicts that somebody might have. The risk, of course, of something like that is that it can scare people away because you're having to both share so much, or because it's just really hard to fill it out. You're afraid you're going to make a mistake.
It's like on Netscape. You know what I mean? It's like Internet 0.0. And if you do anything wrong, you're
fired.
fucked.
Yeah.
But it's like you have no idea what box to press because it's like analog. It's so. If there's someone in the room that's involved with it, you suck. Because it's really wrong. Okay, before we move on to how you're going to fix everything, I just want to thank you for using pep in your step multiple times. I feel like
I get that from you.
because I'm gay. Is that right? How'd you know? You know. No, I just feel like I haven't heard pep.
Are you saying that straight guys can't have pep in their step?
No, they can't. When you come
just
to
want
the
to make sure. Just want to make sure.
You make it happen. You make it happen. Housing and economic development. Wow. Well, I guess there's so many questions about it, but I feel like you're hearing so many reasons why downtown is so empty. After being in the job for 6 weeks, is it? No, 9 weeks. Can you give us what you think the top few reasons why our downtown seems so empty and other downtowns don't? Can you we've heard a lot of stuff in the press about it, but from your vantage point, what's causing this?
I think there are a lot of things that have come together to cause where we are downtown. One is people don't live there. People have not lived there. Two is a lot of the types of jobs that people have historically had downtown either have early hours, and so nobody's there for dinner, or they're things that people can do from home. So when the world changed exactly 5 years ago, a lot of people left and still haven't come back and may not come back. It also changed, or it also is the way it is, because we've, through lots of good intent, piled up lots of things, that's a technical term that I learned in City Hall, that make it hard to change stuff in San Francisco.
It's the things that make it hard to change the stuff. Okay, I get it.
Okay, you can quote me on that. And there's more. The state of the economy, the challenges in the cost of building, where interest rates are. These are just a handful of things. And then when you add them to the street conditions, not just downtown or in a certain part of downtown, but where somebody might get off of public transportation, where they might get on public transportation, the anecdotes that they might hear about from friends and family, those have all come together. And I'm sure I'm skipping a few, but I think about those types of issues as ones that have piled up to make it such that downtown is this massive opportunity. And I don't think there's any parallel that I know of in history of a city with such incredible bones that has so much strength in its economy, that has so many incredible people in it with such a messed up downtown. But there's so much of it that is empty or that is opportunity. When we talk about vacancy rates being around 40%, that doesn't take into account all the people who pay for their buildings or pay their leases, but where people don't go to the office very often. And so I look at it as this incredible opportunity to completely rethink what a downtown ought to look like, for which there's been no parallel in history.
Does the administration have a plan yet for how to fix all these things?
So the short answer is we are putting together a plan, and you probably want me to tell you a little bit about it.
Just between us.
Okay. And we'll share more details on it over time, but I'm happy to talk about it in broad strokes. We need an all-of-the-above approach to downtown. People must live there. So last week, legislation was passed by the Board of Supervisors 9-1, so one person wasn't there for it, but just 9-1. Think about when the last time was that any matter or a housing-related matter passed through our Board of Supervisors 9-1 to make it easier to build or to turn offices into housing in downtown by reducing or eliminating the inclusionary requirements for the first 7 million square feet that are built. And so there's so much in that statement. The cooperation and alignment of the Board of Supervisors, the fact that we're trying to make it easier to build more housing, and the fact that we're attacking one of the biggest challenges downtown. People have to live there. 2, people need to eat and shop and visit and look at art and go to shows and do all the things downtown that right now the people who are there during the day, it's just not enough to support. How could you run a successful restaurant downtown when you only have a few meals a week that you can count on? How do you staff your restaurant? How do you buy the right amount of food for any given day? And so we need to create the conditions, clean and safe streets, where people want to be there. We need to stimulate the small businesses, make it easier for them to get up and running. That's permit SF, and we're gonna have to do some other things. We're gonna have to get really creative to get small businesses downtown. But we need places for people to go, or they're not gonna come back. That's helping people see how great Muni is right now, and getting them back on it, and getting them back to their offices, because the streets are clean and safe, and they're great places to go when they get there. They wanna be with their colleagues. We're trying to model, not just by putting ties on, not everybody should do that, but we go to the office 5 days a week, and the mayor's asked that people come back 4 days a week at City Hall. The governor followed suit. Salesforce is at 4 days a week now. When Salesforce went to 4 days a week in October, you could see it in the transit data. Now, not every company is as big as Salesforce, but Gap announced they're back to 4 days a week. Many companies have announced that. We were at OpenAI yesterday. Their office was packed. That's 2,000 people right next to Chase. And so I'm bobbing and weaving a little bit, but we have to do everything downtown. We need people to study downtown. We should have more than one university. But to have this incredible city without a thriving university in our downtown doesn't really make a ton of sense. And when we have all of this space, we have an opportunity to do something about it. So those are some of the things that we think about.
Yeah, okay, thank you for that. Is kind of comprehensive and all of the above.
Kind of?
No, it is. A little bit of this isn't meant to be mean, but like what are you guys doing that, to your knowledge, that Mayor Breed's administration wasn't doing? Like, I feel like I interviewed her and her people, and they kind of said similar things that they were going to do. So is your execution different, or are your ideas different, or what's different?
I wasn't in City Hall till January 8th, so I'll be best served talking about what we're doing right now. And when I think about what we're doing right now, what gives me hope are a few things. One is the mayor, throughout his career, has been incredible at putting together teams of people to meet the moment, whether it was for the Super Bowl, whether it was at Tipping Point, whether it was to build housing. And that's what he's done now. So it's not about any one of us, but it's about the team that he has put together and the structure that he's put in place, I think sets us up to be more likely to be successful than we have been in the past. 2, we feel tremendous urgency. We feel like every day that we show up where there isn't a university downtown, where there isn't a conversion happening, where we're not doing something to help the small businesses that are there, or those that should be there that aren't, or we're not breaking down barriers around permitting to get more housing built or to get small businesses up and running faster. Every day we don't do something is a failure. And that paranoia, that pressure to deliver for all of you, I can't speak to any other time, but I can tell you I think that's really powerful. So those are a couple of the things that hopefully put us in a position to be successful.
You guys, by the way, right now are locked in. Like, all of you are like, you're like listening. No one's gonna get their phone. This is amazing. You guys are, and I love it. So I just want to appreciate audience for a second.
You know one thing, I want to say something about phones.
Okay.
If I may. Did you ask about phones? Okay, let me tell you about phones. I have been struck in City Hall at the culture that people do not pick up their phones in meetings. They look each other in the eye. They're focused at big meetings and small meetings. And I have a bad habit where I look at my phone sometimes in meetings. And I am struck at how good they all are about it, because it's a reminder of how much people care. And if any of you do it, Don't look at your phone during a meeting. It sends a bad message to
That's
people.
good advice. Yes, yeah. No more looking at phones in meetings. I appreciate that. That's one of the ways that the city's going to recover economically.
If we want to attract and retain
That's the
the
difference.
very best
I
people
agree.
to work in City Hall.
I got it. Okay. What about Market Street? What are we going to do about that? Because, like, Market Street, she's a mess.
Market Street is a perfect microcosm of everything we just talked about. It's a street that needs businesses to thrive. It needs people to see clean and safe streets. Many of the people who are there need help. I went to IKEA today to the food. Who's been to the food mart at IKEA?
Salu Hall? Yeah, it's cool. Wow, everyone.
I'll tell you a funny story. I left a meeting with the mayor, and I had to go somewhere else. So I went to the law library, which is also part of the. If any of you have been to the law library, they have books from 1490. So I went to the law library
That's an old book.
On my way there, I stopped at IKEA for lunch. The burger place, they said they were held up because I couldn't get a burger. I was pretty bummed I couldn't get a smash burger, so I'm going back tomorrow. So I went upstairs, and I'm there for 3 or 4 minutes, and who walks up the stairs? The mayor. That was pretty funny. So
That was your story?
what are the odds? I was like five blocks.
What is that story?
I was like 5 blocks from the last meeting, and so
What are you trying to say?
I'm trying to say we need more people at IKEA. We need more people. We need to get that Whole Foods reopened. We need to do a lot to help Market Street. It's clear that the way it is right now is not working. So I don't know what that means. The mayor's been pretty clear. He doesn't know exactly what it means, but he knows that the way it is right now isn't working. And I don't just mean cars. I don't just mean the people who need help who are on the streets. I don't just mean the street conditions where they need to be cleaner and safer. I don't just mean the small businesses that need help. I don't just mean the hotels that are feeling the pain of the last 5 years. But all of that, those are just microcosms of the challenges that I was describing around downtown more broadly.
All right, friends, I have got like one more question on downtown. I got 1 or 2 on housing, and then we're going to get to the audience, okay? Since arts and culture is also with you, I learned today at lunch, at Amano, by the way, which I really like, which is in Hayes Valley. It's that pizza place. One fan of Amano. Very good. I get the
You told me you were gluten-free until...
I got cauliflower and a salad. Thank you.
And don't say you went to a pizza place.
I did. I got a salad and a cauliflower. I learned today that SF MoMA is at 65% of its pre-pandemic attendance, but 100% of those people, 100% basically of its local attendance. So the missing 35% are all visitors. The Contemporary Jewish Museum is closed indefinitely. YBCA is seemingly kind of on life support, like I haven't heard about it in a while. I heard that MOAD isn't doing very well. The Mexican and American Museum, it doesn't seem to be opening anytime soon. I'm really nervous about our museum district. And so I guess, are you nervous? And is there anything the city can do to help make sure that that very core part of our cultural fabric doesn't, kind of domino effect and all the museums start to close?
And you didn't mention the Fine Arts Museum. There's a Tebow exhibit opening next week.
Tebow, like the football player? I'm kidding. I'm going to the artist talk. Tebow, different.
And a
Tebow.
McCartney photography exhibit that just opened at the De Young, which I saw last week, was amazing.
Yeah, but those are in Golden Gate Park.
They have the same challenge where their visitors are back to pre-pandemic levels for local, and they're getting crushed. International is just crushed. And then people who have to fly here is less crushed. And so the first thing we have to do is create the conditions where people want to come back here and change the narrative. The mayor, by the way, has been amazing about this, whether it's during the All-Star Game or the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference or the Citizens Bank Conference last week or with SF Travel or other groups, anybody he can talk to, he wants to engage, and Charles Barkley, and help them all understand how much better things are here than they realize. And he turns them around one at a time. And they're all influencers. They all go back to their town, somewhere on the planet, and tell people what it's like here. And so for them to have a great experience, for it to be clean and safe is so important, because we all know how incredible our city is, but some of them have heard the wrong narrative, and we have to change it. And it feels like it is changing, but we all have to feel great urgency around it, because the first thing is clean and safe, get people to come back here on their visits for both business, but also when they come for business, then to go home and say, it was great, let's go back for spring break, let's go see the Tebow exhibit. That's the first thing we can do. After that happens, I think the museums are going to have a much easier time raising money for their endowments, much easier time doing expansions, much easier time creating low-cost programs for kids and other people who might not be able to pay $30 every time they want to go to a museum. But the first thing is just make this a better place for people to come visit.
Okay. Some people have said to me, oh, Ned, he seems like a business guy. That makes sense. He wears a nice suit. He's got
Some people, that's what you say when you want to ask a question, but you don't want to be the bad guy.
Okay. Some people might think, well, housing's not really your thing. Like, I get it, Twitter guy, business, economic development, makes sense. But housing? Does he actually care about housing? Is housing something you actually is a priority? Housing? Is housing a priority? Do you actually care about housing?
What do you say to them?
I say you should come to Manny's on Tuesday night at 6:30, pay $15, and
That was good.
I'm gonna ask him.
That was a good pitch.
So do you really care about housing?
Listen, I'm 50, we have 3 kids, and I want to leave this city better than I found it. And right now, I don't think that our generation has done its part. And that means we can't leave anybody behind. We need housing at all income levels. We need to be predictable and principled and transparent in the types of laws and regulations that we set up, so that people of all income levels, people from all over the world can come here and thrive the way that they were able to for many generations before now. And we're just going to have to prove it by our actions and our efforts.
But what can you, Mazel Tov, what can you do? So there's going to be this new zoning map, and you're going to be able to build up to 4 stories. It sounds like in a lot of neighborhoods. Is that right, Eric? Yeah.
That's Ned.
Okay, so you're going to be able to build. You can build up to 4 stories, but like I think we are supposed to build 84,000 units in 10 years or something. We built like 7. So, like, what do you think the administration is going to do to actually get the other 83,993 units built?
That was some good math.
Thank you.
So, one, when we think about housing, we think about it's really important that the city controls its own destiny. It's better that we make the decisions that we think are best for the city than that they're made for us because we don't do our part. 2, we think about housing for everybody. We want housing to be as affordable as possible for people at all different income levels. And then we think about trying to be something that's durable, something that can last a really long time. This isn't a process we should go through every few years. It's not efficient. It's not a good way to use our time. It's not good for people who are looking to buy a home or rent a home. It's not good for people who are trying to build one. And so coming up with something that is principled, that's durable, and that maintains the fabric of San Francisco while still allowing us to control our own destiny, those are the kinds of things that we think about.
Okay, and last question before I get to the audience is, you're 9 weeks in, yeah? Yes?
Yes.
My mother always said, don't say yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yes. If you and I, and let's, perhaps Mayor Lurie will be a 2-term mayor. Seems likely, maybe not, I don't know. So let's assume he is a 2-term mayor, and you stick with him the whole time, and you have a whole lot more white hair.
Gray hair, yeah.
Gray hair than you have now, but you're sitting here, and it's the end, right? It's in 8 years, let's say. You're sitting here. What have you accomplished for our city, Mr.?
So I hope, if you just step back from housing and economic development for a minute, I hope the mayor will come here. I hope that the city will be clean and safe, not just in statistics, but in your bones. You'll walk down the street and you'll feel clean and safe. The streets will feel clean and safe. The second is I hope that the way that the city government works, people feel like it's here in service of them. that if you're going to get a permit, you don't need an expediter. That if you're trying to open a small business, you want to open a restaurant, it doesn't cost $22,000 and take 61 steps. That if you want to open a bookstore, it doesn't cost $11,000. That if you want to start a project, you know when you're going to finish it. And that you can afford to live here, that you have choices about where to live, that the schools are thriving because our population isn't shrinking, our population is growing, because those 20-somethings that were talked about in the paper earlier this week are moving here, or can choose to if they want to, as opposed to moving away. And that the city maintains all the cool things about it that make it so unique, while accomplishing all of that.
Well, another thing my mother would say is, from your words to God's ears. So I hope it does happen. So much more we could talk about small business, what you think can bring those 20-year-olds back. So if you have those questions, please ask them. But I think it's time for audience Q&A. Michael, do you want to give this to Louise and we can do both sides? All right, just raise your hand and Michael or Louise will come to you. Let's go all the way to that person in there, over there with the headband. Right over there. Headband and stripes.
I do have this rock, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Hello.
What is this for?
It's for vibe.
Is it working?
I think so.
Okay.
We're still open.
Hi, what's your
Hi,
name?
I'm Courtney.
Hi, Courtney.
I am a small business owner. I'm not hugely into politics.
Me neither.
I do have
Okay.
some common sense though, and what's been happening, what I've seen since living here for the last 15 years. I see that there's a big opportunity for cartels to they have an audience, people who will do drugs freely in the streets. And I'm wondering, you haven't addressed that yet, because that's a huge part of why people don't want to be on Valencia, be on Mission, be just downtown, or, I mean, I feel like that's been just a huge issue in getting people back and having businesses thrive. So I'm curious if you have any ideas for that.
Thank you, Courtney. So one, although I don't want to duck the question, I just want to be clear. There are 4 of us who report to the mayor with different portfolios of responsibilities. And public safety is with Paul Yep. And then we have what's like homelessness and health and child services, which is with Kunal Modi. And they play a very important role in driving the work around the fentanyl crisis, both stopping drugs from coming in to the city, making sure that when they do get here, the people who are dealing them are arrested, the people who are using them get the help they need to get off the streets, making sure that there are shelter beds for the people who need them, making sure that people are getting help for the length of time you need, not just returning back to the streets, and which is not good for them or for anybody else. And so the drug challenges are addressing them is critical to everything else. And so when I talk about street conditions and clean and safe, it's referring to that, but it's just not the area on which I am focused. We are all massively dependent on each other's work. We all sit in one room together. There's a funny quote, I can't remember quite, because we're 4 middle-aged people all sitting together in a room trying to solve these problems together. And we feel a tremendous sense of purpose and camaraderie around them, but there's a lot of interdependency, and that's a good example of one.
And Courtney, it is my intention to bring all 4 of the policy chiefs here. So I've reached out to, I think, 3 of the 4 already, and they said they're happy to come. So stay tuned. This is just the first conversation because Ned is the most attractive.
Be nice for me or they're not coming.
Okay, all right. I'll try to be nice. Let's go all the way in the back, and then we'll go all the way in the front. Back over there. Yes, by the leafy plant.
Hi, my name is Hannah. I'm a 20-something. I would love if we had more food and bars that stayed open later, and public transit, so I could get home. That'd be great. My question would be, one of the things that I hear when like affordable housing is being developed are kind of the roadblocks that happen from lengthy public comment and public hearing periods. Kind of some resistance and stigma around affordable housing. I'm just wondering if you have that on your radar, if you have any plans to kind of address that, and maybe from my stance remind people that it's neighborly to welcome people to your neighborhood and build affordable housing so we can all live in this great city.
Thanks, Hannah. I agree with you. The short answer is it's very much on our radar. We need all kinds of housing, and we need to have a clear path where people understand what the rules are, how they all work, and where they can navigate it without an expediter, without assuming it's going to take them 4 years to put a shovel in the ground. Because one of the biggest areas where we have some control in the process of making the math work, which is how some builders talk about it, is how long it takes to start. And if you don't know how long it's going to take to start your project, because you don't know how long it's going to take you to get to the other side, you can't even build the spreadsheet. And so the more we can do through our permit reform work, where I spend a lot of time with Rich Hillis, who leads our planning department and is leading the permit reform process, and where we spend a lot of time with the mayor, is talking about exactly this, because it's got to be easier for people to get through to the other side. It has to be more predictable. The rules that are designed to keep people safe are great, but we have to figure out how to keep people safe and get them the permits they need in a predictable and transparent way. And I think that will go a long ways towards addressing building more housing and at all income levels.
All right, over here in the front, and then we're gonna go around the room. Yes?
Thank you. Do I need to stand up?
You don't. You're using the oops, I did it again, mic.
Great, Brittany. I think first I want to ask a request of you, or place a request to you. Please make this city more affordable for the middle class. I commute here from Sacramento multiple times a month, sometimes multiple times a week. I would love to live here with my family, and it's just not doable. I think for my question, I'm really excited to hear you and several of Mayor Lurie's team coming in and sort of like bringing efficiency to the government, trying to speed up, trying to help people push things through quicker. And at the same time, I work with small business. I provide a lot of technical assistance through nonprofit here. And I think there's a spirit of the law that's truly being missed. OSB, the team is like cranking out permits like crazy. And at the same time, we hear from small businesses who are like, why is this being enforced? This feels antithetical to why this law was created in the first place. So I'm curious if you can speak to how you plan to balance the efficiency with being able to take the time to truly review in a case-by-case way, or just support businesses so that they don't feel like they're getting a blanket no, when in fact they should be enabled to operate here.
Thank you for that. So I want you and your family to be able to live here too. And I was with Katie Tang, who leads the Office of Small Business, which is what you're referring to. That's OSB. Lots of shortened acronyms and so on that I've learned most of them. We were meeting with some stakeholders this afternoon. Right now, we do an incredible job in OSB of helping people navigate a system that has so many things layered on top of each other that are well intended, but collectively just make it too hard for a small business to get up and running. In a city where we've got a lot of, if you were a small business downtown, you might have your customers there 3 days a week. You don't know which 3 days they're going to be. And so whether it's getting open or staying open or thriving once open, there's so many layers of these of process that we've laid on top of each other. And the only way we're going to address this is by starting at the bottom and looking at the intent of each one, not just in one department, in all of the departments. Because if you're a small business, you need a permit from fire, you need a permit from public works, you need a permit from planning, from DBI. You just keep going down the list, and all of a sudden you're just crushed under the weight of all of this good intent from subject matter experts who are just trying to keep people safe. And so there's a great example I heard today. If you want to expand, this is housing related, but it may as well be small business. If you want to expand the footprint of your home, the school district needs to measure the expansion so that you can be assessed appropriately. Now, there's other people who are doing that work already in planning. So why can't we just rely on somebody else's measurement? It's just, and then just extend that how many more times? Right. How much better would the person in the school district job be if they didn't have to go measure something that somebody else already did? Nobody wants to do work that somebody else has already done.
Sorry to interrupt.
Please interrupt.
But I just did. Is vulnerable yet bold question. Is it possible that part of what making things more efficient will involve people losing their job? Like that there's protected interests in all of these people having to evaluate these permits because these are actual. If you got rid of all these permits, you would then also have to get rid of all the people who would need to issue the permits, and there's a resistance to that in the government. Would you say?
I think people want to do valuable work that gives them a sense of purpose, that helps the people around them. And we're going to figure out a way to have the people who work for the city do valuable work that serves the purpose of the people around them, where you all are the customers. If that's our North Star, we'll end up in the right place.
Okay, this side, right over here. Yes, right there. Louise.
Hi, my name is Belinda. I've worked in housing since 2005, particularly on projects that needed some consulting or whatever, to fill the units or to educate people that apply. First, I would like some clarification on when you talked about inclusionary and removing the inclusionary. Because a lot of people, think that inclusionary may mean race, but it also means economic, right? And one of the problems, issues in San Francisco that I found is there needs to be education. Because what happened when they had the mayoral campaign, I went to all the meet and greets. And the San Franciscans are wonderful, but they just don't understand the policy. They don't understand the programs that the city of San Francisco has. So that's one of the things that needs to happen. There needs to be outreach, and Manny, thank you for this. I think there needs to be more of these where people can come and talk and give their suggestions and understand the policy or understand the program, so then people will be more willing to rent out their places to people, because we have housing, right, where there's vacant units, but people don't understand the programs. And then also people can make suggestions on how to make the programs better, right? Understand the housing authority, understand Section 8, understand affordable housing, understand BMRs, understand. So most people think that BMRs you have to make like $50,000 or whatever to buy
Below market rate.
Right, below market rate.
You don't know.
But you can make up to $200,000. The city has fantastic programs, but people don't understand how to use them. And then, so some
Thank you,
training and
Belinda.
education.
We appreciate you.
I agree with you, and I'm going to make a confession for a moment, which is one of the things that's different about the public sector relative to working at a company is how important it is to listen and learn from the people in the community, to build consensus, to talk to people before a decision is made, both to learn from them, but also to just connect on a human level, so that in case you ever do disagree, that you accept that you're human beings and you're trying to do your best, and you might agree on 80% of it, you can figure out what that is and talk about it. And that's an insight for me that you might be like, well, duh, we could have told you that nine weeks ago. But I have a deep appreciation for how important engagement is. The mayor is amazing at it. He gets out of the SUV on the street corner to go talk to people. He looks them in the eye, he asks their name, he asks them questions. And I think all of us key off of that and recognize how important engagement is, and education. So thank you for saying that, and I couldn't agree more.
All right, we have time for one more question, as we've been here for 55 minutes, and I'm trying to keep these tight to an hour, so I think last question, and for those who haven't had the opportunity, maybe you can stay a couple of minutes. So maybe final
I'd be
question
happy to.
for you.
I came a little bit late, so I apologize if this was already touched on, and I can just find you after. But you mentioned just a few minutes ago that we need to take ownership as a city so we can come up with housing solutions as a city, so that those decisions are not made for us. Can you elaborate on that? Like, who would be making these decisions for us, and what does that actually entail?
Great, thank you. What's your name?
Darshini.
Hi, Darshini. So that was not asked before. Thank you for asking. So there are state laws such that if we don't permit and ultimately build enough housing, that the state will impose decisions on us on what the zoning looks like for the housing that the state has decided ought to be built. And my point of view is the San Franciscans know San Francisco best. We have elected officials, so we have the accountability in place so that we should be able to figure these things out for ourselves. And so that's the idea, is we ought to control our own destiny from a zoning perspective by delivering the housing that is required such that the state isn't making the decisions for us. So that's, there are tens of thousands of units that are already planned, not shovels in the ground, but planned. And so there's another 30,000 plus that we need to have clear line of sight to feel good about the path that we're on.
Let us give a round of applause to Ned Segal in the mayor's office.
You did great. That was great. Thank you, Manny.
Go ahead.
I just want to say it's a privilege to be up here. You've had a bunch of incredible people come talk here over the years. You are a gift to San Francisco that you do this, that you do the City Joy Fund, clean up our streets. I knew him at the Passover Seder first, but when I saw him in the mayor's office when we were tackling a difficult issue a few weeks ago, and he sat there quietly as a facilitator, as opposed to as the guy at the center of the conversation, I saw this whole other dimension of you, and it's just, thank you for what you do, and thanks for having me. And thank you all for caring so much.
My pleasure. Thank you very much. Sometimes I don't talk. Very rarely. A couple things just to let you know about. If this is something you're interested in, if you want to learn about who are the people running our city government, and there's a lot of new people, know that Manny's is going to be bringing as many of them as are willing to come here. So we are going to hopefully bring all four of the policy chiefs, the mayor's coming here for what I believe is his first long sit down at Manny's. He did his first public interview as a candidate here with Mission Local, and so we're having him. We're feeling very honored to have him for his first fireside here. I think it's next week or in a week and a half. We have Senator Cory Booker next Monday night at 7 o'clock. I'll be in conversation with him. It's a fundraiser for his re-election, but it's also going to be, the senator and I are going to be sitting, he's going to be sitting in that mustard-colored chair right there where you are. We also have so many events coming up. All of them are at welcometomannys.com. If you're not already a Manny's sponsor, it's $36 to $360 a month if you're a big spender. And it supports all the work that we're doing. We never turn anyone away for lack of funds. There were some questions tonight about gosh, $30. If anyone can't afford a ticket, all you need to do is email Louise at Welcome to Manny's with the word grapefruit, and you get a free ticket, no questions asked at any of our events. So a big thank you to Louise and to Mikey for setting up the room, to Hector and Felipe who served you your drinks in the front. You have an amazing staff here. And the last thing I'll just say two quick things. One, we have Ezra Klein in 2 weeks at City Arts and Lectures. This is going to be great. Very apropos of this conversation, I am shaking in my heels. I am so nervous about that. So give me all the good Manny's juju, because I cannot fuck that one up. My sisters are coming all the way from Israel to watch me in the front row, and they are very, very harsh critics. So for no other reason, I need your help to make sure I do well on that. For all of our events, there's going to be, if you don't have a physical ticket, there's live stream. There's going to be a great simulcast of that conversation, so please sign up. And then the last thing I'll say is, Ned has a very hard job, right? 9 weeks. Can you imagine arts and culture, housing, and economic development? I mean, and he's Jewish, and we're preternaturally disposed to be nervous and anxious. So like, imagine having to deal with all that and be Jewish. It's a double whammy. But like, all of us have a part to play in the things that he talked about, in particular arts and culture and economic development. We choose where we're going to spend our money. We choose where we're going to go out for dinner, just because there are still restaurants there. You know, there's events happening, there's museums. So my challenge to you, other than to become a Manny sponsor, is to like try to spend more of your time in our downtown core. Just go there. Like, go to museums, spend money. It's not going to hurt. Let's just make a pact in this room. There's 150 people here. Like, keep talking. Okay. My challenge to you is to just make sure to go downtown and spend more money and actually support it so that people like Ned can try to make sure that the administration is executing on policies to make it even better. But we all have a part to play in this. We're not passive recipients of this. We each have a role in this moment in our city, okay? Do I have a yes? Can I hear a yes?
Yes.
Have a good night, everyone. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
Hold on.